Afghan Jews, and various others. The Taimanim from Yemen are sometimes included, although their style of liturgy is unique and they differ in respect to the admixture found among them to that found in Mizrahim. In addition, there is a differentiation made between Sephardi migrants who established themselves in the Middle East and North Africa after the expulsion of the Jews from Spain and Portugal in the 1490s and the pre-existing Jewish communities in those regions. 211. Ashkenazi Jews represent the bulk of modern Jewry, with at least 70% of Jews worldwide, and up to 90% prior to World War II and the Holocaust. As a result of their emigration from Europe, Ashkenazim also represent the overwhelming majority of Jews in the New World continents, in countries such as the United States, Canada, Argentina, Australia, and Brazil. In France, the immigration of Jews from Algeria, Sephardim, has led them to outnumber the Ashkenazim. 211. Only in Israel is the Jewish population representative of all groups, a melting pot independent of each group's proportion within the overall world Jewish population. 212. Genetic studies. Yemenite Jew blows shofar 1947. Why DNA studies tend to imply a small number of founders in an old population whose members parted and followed different migration paths. 213. In most Jewish populations, these male line ancestors appear to have been mainly Middle Eastern. For example, Ashkenazi Jews share more common paternal lineages with other Jewish and Middle Eastern groups than with non-Jewish populations in areas where Jews lived in Eastern Europe, Germany, and the French Rhine Valley. This is consistent with Jewish traditions in placing most Jewish paternal origins in the region of the Middle East. 214. 215. Conversely, the maternal lineages of Jewish populations, studied by looking at mitochondrial DNA, are generally more heterogeneous. 216. Scholars such as Harry Osterer and Raphael Falk believe this indicates that many Jewish males found new mates from European and other communities in places where they migrated in the diaspora after fleeing ancient Israel. 217. In contrast, Baha has found evidence that about 40% of Ashkenazi Jews originate maternally from just 4 female founders, however of Middle Eastern origin. The populations of Sephardi and Mizrahi Jewish communities showed no evidence for a narrow founder effect. 216. Subsequent studies carried out by Feder et al. Confirmed the large portion of non-local maternal origin among Ashkenazi Jews. Reflecting on their findings related to the maternal origin of Ashkenazi Jews, the authors conclude clearly, the differences between Jews and non-Jews are far larger than those observed among the Jewish communities. Hence, differences between the Jewish communities can be overlooked when non-Jews are included in the comparisons. 11. 218. 219. A study showed that 7% of Ashkenazi Jews have the haplogroup G2C, which is mainly found in Pashtuns and on lower scales all major Jewish groups, Palestinians, Syrians, and Lebanese. 220. 221. Studies of autosomal DNA, which look at the entire DNA mixture, have become increasingly important as technology develops. They show that Jewish populations have tended to form relatively closely related groups in independent communities, with most in a community sharing significant ancestry in common. 222. For Jewish populations of the diaspora, the genetic composition of Ashkenazi, Sephardic, and Mizrahi Jewish populations show a predominant amount of shared Middle Eastern ancestry. According to Baha, the most parsimonious explanation for this shared Middle Eastern ancestry is that it is consistent with the historical formulation of the Jewish people as descending from ancient Hebrew and Israelite residents of the Levant and the dispersion of the people of ancient Israel throughout the Old World. 223. North African Italian and others of Iberian origin show variable frequencies of admixture with non-Jewish historical host populations among the maternal lines. In the case of Ashkenazi and Sephardi Jews, in particular Moroccan Jews, who are closely related, the source of non-Jewish admixture is mainly Southern European, while Mizrahi Jews show evidence of admixture with other Middle Eastern populations. Baharat al-Haider remarked on a close relationship between Ashkenazi Jews and modern Italians. 223, 224. A 2001 study found that Jews were more closely related to groups of the Fertile Crescent, Kurds, Turks, and Armenians, than to their Arab neighbors, whose genetic signature was found in geographic patterns reflective of Islamic conquests. 214, 225. The studies also show that Sephardic Bnei Anasim, descendants of the Anasim who were forced to convert to Catholicism, which comprise up to 19.8% of the population of today's Iberia, Spain and Portugal, and at least 10% of the population of Iberoamerica, Hispanic America and Brazil, have Sephardic Jewish ancestry within the last few centuries. The Bene Israel and Cochin Jews of India, Beta Israel of Ethiopia, and a portion of the Lemba people of southern Africa, despite more closely resembling local populations of their native countries, have also been thought to have some more remote ancient Jewish ancestry. 226, 223, 227, 219. Views on the Lemba have changed and genetic Y-DNA analyses in the 2000s have established a partially Middle Eastern origin for a portion of the male Lemba population, but have been unable to narrow this down further. 228, 229. Population centers. New York City is home to 1.1 million Jews, making it the largest Jewish community outside of Israel. Although historically, Jews have been found all over the world, in decades since World War II and the establishment of Israel, they have increasingly concentrated in a small number of countries. 230, 231. In 2021, Israel and the United States together accounted for over 85% of the global Jewish population, with approximately 45.3% and 39.6% of the world's Jews respectively. 1. According to the Israel Central Bureau of Statistics, there were 13,421,000 Jews worldwide in 2009, roughly 0.2% of the world's population at the time. 232, according to the 2007 estimates of the Jewish People Policy Planning Institute, the world's Jewish population is 13.2 million. 233. This statistic incorporates both practicing Jews affiliated with synagogues and the Jewish community, and approximately 4.5 million unaffiliated and secular Jews. According to Sergio Della Pergola, a demographer of the Jewish population, in 2021 there were about 6.8 million Jews in Israel, 6 million in the United States, and 2.3 million in the rest of the world. 1. Israel. Jewish people in Jerusalem, Israel, the Jewish nation-state, is the only country in which Jews make up a majority of the citizens. 234. Israel was established as an independent democratic and Jewish state on the 14th of May 1948. 235. Of 120 members in its parliament, the Knesset, 236. As of 2016, 14 members of the Knesset are Arab citizens of Israel, not including Druze, most representing Arab political parties. One of Israel's Supreme Court judges is also an Arab citizen of Israel. 237. Between 1948 and 1958, the Jewish population rose from 800,000 to 2,238,000. Currently, Jews account for 75.4% of the Israeli population, or 6 million people. 240. The early years of State of Israel were marked by the mass immigration of Holocaust survivors in the aftermath of the Holocaust and Jews fleeing Arab lands. 241. Israel also has a large population of Ethiopian Jews, many of whom were airlifted to Israel in the late 1980s and early 1990s. 242. Between 1974 and 1979 nearly 227,258 immigrants arrived in Israel, about half being from the Soviet Union. 243. This period also saw an increase in immigration to Israel from Western Europe, Latin America, and North America. 244. A trickle of immigrants from other communities has also arrived, including Indian Jews and others, as well as some descendants of Ashkenazi Holocaust survivors who had settled in countries such as the United States, Argentina, Australia, Chile, and South Africa. Some Jews have emigrated from Israel elsewhere because of economic problems or disillusionment with political conditions and the continuing Arab-Israeli conflict. Jewish Israeli immigrants are known as Yordim. 245. Diaspora, outside Israel. In this Rosh Hashanah greeting card from the early 1900s, Russian Jews packs in hand, gaze at their American relatives beckoning them to the United States. Over 2 million Jews fled the pogroms of the Russian Empire to the safety of the U.S. Between 1881 and 1924. 246. The waves of immigration to the United States and elsewhere at the turn of 19th century, the founding of Zionism and later events, including pogroms in Imperial Russia, mostly within the Pale of Settlement in present-day Ukraine, Moldova, Belarus and Eastern Poland, the massacre of European Jewry during the Holocaust, and the founding of the State of Israel, with the subsequent Jewish exodus from Arab lands, all resulted in substantial shifts in the population centers of world Jewry by the end of the 20th century. 248. More than half of the Jews live in the diaspora, see population table. Currently, the largest Jewish community outside Israel, and either the largest or second largest Jewish community in the world, is located in the United States, with 5.2 million to 6.4 million Jews by various estimates. Elsewhere in the Americas, there are also large Jewish populations in Canada, 315,000, Argentina, 180,000, 300,000, and Brazil, 196,000, 600,000, and smaller populations in Mexico, Uruguay, Venezuela, Chile, Colombia and several other countries. See History of the Jews in Latin America. 249. According to a 2010 Pew Research Center study, about 470,000 people of Jewish heritage live in Latin America and the Caribbean. 250. Demographers disagree on whether the United States has a larger Jewish population than Israel, with many maintaining that Israel surpassed the United States in Jewish population during the 2000s, while others maintain that the United States still has the largest Jewish population in the world. Currently, a major national Jewish population survey is planned to ascertain whether or not Israel has overtaken the United States in Jewish population. 251. Western Europe's largest Jewish community, and the third largest Jewish community in the world, can be found in France. Home to between 483,000 and 500,000 Jews, the majority of whom are immigrants or refugees from North African countries such as Algeria, Morocco, and Tunisia, or their descendants. 252. The United Kingdom has a Jewish community of 292,000. In Eastern Europe, the exact figures are difficult to establish. The number of Jews in Russia varies widely according to whether a source uses census data, which requires a person to choose a single nationality among choices that include Russian and Jewish, or eligibility for immigration to Israel, which requires that a person have one or more Jewish grandparents. According to the latter criteria, the heads of the Russian Jewish community assert that up to 1.5 million Russians